I mean, I think there's an element of it that you're sort of born with, but you can definitely unlearn resilience. You can become soft for sure. Like me, for example. I've had to like look in the mirror recently and be like, okay, am I gonna like double down on bikes here, or am I out? And you can't necessarily make that decision based on, oh, I have 20 years experience in this. It's like, are you happy doing this or are you not? Do you want to do this? No. Do you see a future here or not? I think that's really what it comes down to. It's like is this something that will make you happy in the future? You want to knock it out of the park on all of them, but that's fully unrealistic as a single human being.
So I'm not going to be a sprinter, a climber, a TT guy. It's like
exactly.
Just with experience, it's an impossible task.
Unless you're Wout, but yeah, can't all be Wout. When Rafa came on and they were like, oh, we want to do this EF Gone Racing stuff. We're going to need a couple athletes from EF, and they're sort of poking around, and I kind of kicked the door down. I was like, hey guys, hey, I'm right here. I'll be there.
It's like you've been pro since 2007 or so. Like, what's the darkest moments? What were they like? What were they, and what were they like?
Cool.
Alex Howes, welcome to the Roadman Cycling Podcast.
Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
Congrats on becoming a parent.
Thanks. I don't know how long can you wait? How long can it be before you can no longer say congrats?
I think you got a couple of years out of it.
You think you get 2 years out of that? All right, we're coming up on the end of that.
I think you got 2 years out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like nobody's like congratulating my parents on becoming a parent.
No. There's a point. There's a point where, but it's interesting because I have a lot of my friends are having kids at the moment as well. And how did becoming a parent affect your priorities? Like what you thought was important in life?
I mean, obviously it does change things a bit. But I think that like for me, personally, on a lot of levels, it didn't change a ton, priority-wise. But I mean, obviously, the little ones first and foremost. But I never had an issue like leaving the house with yogurt all over my shirt beforehand. So that like having more yogurt on my shirt doesn't really change anything. But yeah, it's you do think twice a little bit before bombing down some like mountain descent or something, though. Still
Are your parents still alive?
Yeah, they're both around.
Are they just like stoked more than you?
They're pretty pumped. I mean, let's be honest, I'm pretty stoked, but my mom is like, yeah, she's pretty over the moon. When the little one popped out, her first thing she said was, "I waited 33 years for a girl." It's like me and my brother, and she was in a house full of boys, and she loved us, but she would have loved us more if one of us was a girl. And she finally has a little one, so it just spoils the heck out of her. I don't think we've bought clothes since she was born. Like, I think my mom bought all the clothes.
Do you ever think back on a ride about how your parents raised you, like the set of values that they gave you that allowed you to be so resilient in life, that gave you that work ethic to climb the cycling ladder all the way to the top, and wonder, like, how do you design that into your kid's life now?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely something you think about. I think the biggest thing, like my parents did, was they just allowed me to have independence early. I was able to do a lot of things on my own, and was, just sort of out and about in the world from a very, very young age. I mean, I like flew to Belgium and raced cyclocross when I was like 15. And like looking back on it, like they didn't like really check it out a whole lot. It's like, you know, they weren't exactly helicopter parenting it. I mean, we got to Europe, and I remember we were there for like 10 hours trying to like find a ride to get out of there, and like, you know,
it was a wilder time.
Yeah, trying to like navigate like European trains as a kid and stuff. It was interesting, but yeah, I mean, so just having that freedom and then sort of leading by example. I mean, my dad, both my parents really, you know, work super hard. You know, my mom went back to school when I was in, I want to say middle school, late elementary school. She went back to school and went back to college, and, you know, it was kind of funny because we were doing like the same math at the same time. And she hates math. But like, you know, watching her like kind of overcome that and, you know, get her degree, and, you know, watching my dad leave the house every morning at 5:30 a.m. You know, that's definitely busts a little bit of work ethic into you. And yeah, having a little freedom, a little work ethic, those two, I mean, they go a long way. But all that said, kids are going to be who they're going to be. It's funny, like watching my daughter now, like she's sort of just like, yeah, she's on her own little warpath. like
well,
it's.
I also think, like, I look at my upbringing, and my parents never really sat me down and had a discussion about the importance of hard work. But it was more just watching them that I think I got this bug for, you know, I mightn't be the most talented. I don't think I was the smartest kid in school, but I ended up, you know, staying in 7 years of university to finish as a lawyer, and that was work. And I don't think I was ever the best bike rider. You know, I got paid to ride my bike for a little bit, and that was pretty cool. And a lot of it was hard work. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who still rides full time at the moment the other day, and I was like, if you could come up with one word for like what you need to get to the top in cycling, and he's like, resilience. I was wondering, do you think you can teach resilience, or are you just born with that?
I mean, I think there's an element of it that you're sort of born with, but you can definitely unlearn resilience. You know, you can become soft for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, to an extent, right? Nurture versus nature. I don't know how you like really. I don't know if there's like a 5-point bullet point program that you can like put together to teach resilience. At least nothing that's like not going to get child social services called on you.
Like
yeah.
squatting logs in the snow and stuff.
Yeah, just making them sleep outside when they're like 4. Yeah.
I think that's like a Russian or a Siberian school of thought, where like you expose kids to extreme cold at an early age to build resilience.
Well, it's funny. Like my friend, his kid, and well, he's 2, but his first one, when he would like really go off the rails and, you know, be doing something bad, he would just put him outside, kind of as time out, and like that would sometimes mean you just like chucking a kid into like minus 15-degree weather, and kind of like, it sounds ridiculous and it sounds bad, right? I mean, it sounds bad, but I tell you what, there's no better way to like sober up a child than just like extreme cold exposure. They're like, all right, 4 seconds later, like, okay, I want to come back inside. I'll be good.
I will never do that again.
It was like, okay, fine. I guess I shouldn't have hit the dog in the face with a, you know, piece of wood. But
I think so many people quit stuff early, and you know that story of the guy who stopped digging 2 inches from goal. So many people quit, and to get to the top in cycling, or get to the top in anything, you need that crazy amount of resilience. But some of the best decisions I've made have been decisions to quit. Like, I'm thinking, at a point in my life, I thought I was, Billy Big entrepreneur, and I was trying to find my way after spending a bit of time trying to climb the cycling ladder and not getting very far. And I came back home. I didn't want to go back practicing law, so I started setting up a bunch of businesses. And I became like a prisoner by these 2 or 3 businesses I'd set up. Like, I'd get up in the morning, I'd have like a cafe to run. Then I had a media company I was involved in, and I was trying to build an app on the side, and it was just all day. It wasn't authentic to me. It was just all day Zoom calls and meetings, and I was like, this is miserable. But I still had that kind of cycling gene of like, you gotta, there's tough times, you gotta endure. And I remember having a conversation with my girlfriend where I was saying to her, I was like, I'm gonna go full time into the media company and start working like 60, 70 hours a week to really drive it. And she's just like, what are you doing? Like, that's totally not you. She's like, just quit. I was like, what? She's like, just quit. It's okay to just quit and start again. You're going the wrong direction. Just start again. Like, when is it okay to quit, do you think?
I mean, like, if you talk to an economist on that, like, I mean, you should never make decisions based on sunk cost, It's like you want to make the decision on what the final outcome will be, not necessarily what you've put into it.
Yeah.
Which is a hard thing to do and like counterintuitive to human nature, right? I mean, like me, for example, I've had to like look in the mirror recently and be like, okay, am I gonna like double down on bikes here, or am I out? And you can't necessarily make that decision based on, oh, I have 20 years experience in this. It's like, are you happy doing this or are you not? Do you want to do this? No. Do you see a future here or not? And I think that's really what it comes down to. It's like is this something that will make you happy in the future? Like you don't want to be like so short-sighted. You're like, oh yeah, I went for a bike ride and my hands are cold. I guess I should quit cycling forever. The same thing with the media company. You're like, oh, I'm going to have to, bust my ass for 70 hours this week. I guess I should just quit. But, like long term, it's like, oh, this is actually something I don't care about and I don't want to do. And I'm doing, for money or, some other reason, pride. In that sense, it's like, yeah, just quit. Like I've seen so many people, on the racing side, they're like, they feel like they need to, like, oh, I have to do this so I can be successful. And it's like, dude, like you're never going to make it as a bike racer anyways. And you fucking hate it. Like, what are you doing? Like, it sucks. Like, it's dangerous. It's, it's hard. The potential payout is like, you're never going to be a billionaire racing bikes, like it's, dump your energy somewhere else. If you don't want to do it.
So many stay too long. Like, I look at the last race of the season and, you've Valverde and Nibali, they're called up to the front and they're, I know they've had a checkered past, but they've been very influential in cycling for, over a decade. I think 4 Grand Tour wins between them, 3 from Nibali, and they're celebrated. But in that same bunch, there's also guys retiring this year like Mikel Nieve, Sam Bewley, and they don't get the fanfare, even though they've been good pros for a long time. And it's like, it's a difficult sport to get out of on your terms. For a lot of guys, it just ends up being like, I have no contract in October. I guess that's me done. I guess I'm not a pro bike rider anymore.
Yeah. It's a funny thing. Like that transition's scary for sure. And like, I think there's a bit of like Stockholm syndrome, right? You're like, oh yeah, this is my life. And then I think a number of riders, they leave cycling and they're, 5 years down the line, and they're like, man, I should have quit, 10 years ago. Why did I stay that long? Like, that is very hard. But I mean, the inverse of that is true. It's like, without the fanfare and the celebration, like there's a lot of things that motivate internally. And so I think on a lot of levels it is, a rewarding job that, a lot of guys want to stick around with as long as they can.
Are you still happy as a career riding a bike?
Yeah, I have a lot of fun on the riding side, on the racing side. I've also been doing a lot of um, sort of extracurricular stuff, kind of behind the scenes. So, uh, I mean, at this point, I have my hands in a lot of different things, which is good and bad. I mean, it makes for some long, busy days. But at the same time,
What are you
you know,
working on?
I mean, yeah, was pretty full on with the coaching stuff through Team EF coaching. I'm still pretty full on, but I've definitely tried to make that a little more manageable on myself more recently. Um, Making the jump from EF this coming year here, that's been a lot of time on the phone, a lot of time talking to people, talking to companies, doing stuff, and then I don't know, yeah, through that trying to like put together a couple of charitable projects, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have one of those jobs where you sit down and you talk to people and they're like that don't know anything about bikes or cycling, and they say, oh, what do you do? And you try and explain it, and then you walk away from the conversation. You're like, what the hell do I do? It's like how am I on the like how like how do I ride my bike 4 hours a day? Spend 6 hours a day on the phone, and then also like try and raise a child, and then like get to the end of the day, and you're like, I don't know what I got done today.
Are you going to go to gravel privateer route?
I hesitate to say gravel privateer, but yeah, privateer route, yeah. There'll
It's an
be a lot of
interesting
gravel
challenge.
in
I've had a
there.
bunch of guys on the podcast. Like, I've had like a load of them on. Alexi Vermeulen, Lawrence Tendam, Pete Stetner, Nicholas Roach. I'm not sure if you can call him a gravel guy, but yeah, a bunch of them
You
on.
seem
But
like
the
you
guys
seem
who are
like a
doing
gravel
well.
guy.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah,
I like the challenge with it is you're going from becoming a bike rider to becoming a bike rider slash marketer. You need to be a brilliant self publicist, because the gravel world, almost you win the race, it seems like a binary outcome. Like a podium just doesn't seem as good in a gravel race as a podium in Liège. So it's like you win the race or you're one of the other guys. And if you're one of the other guys, you need to have a story. You need to have a cool ability to market. Like I look at some of the gravel privateers, and look at Dylan Johnson, the YouTuber. With respect to the kid, he could probably rip the legs off me, but he's not going to last long in the world tour. A guy like that, but he's building a brand within gravel. It seems to be a different skill set. It's like 50% can you ride your bike, 50% can you get a message out to the world and sell these products.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the hardest part with it all is that, certainly like for someone like myself coming from the world tour, where you have a very defined set of goals, at the beginning of the year, and throughout the season, it's like, what's your job? It's like a job is to try and win bike races, and be approachable to fans, but end of the day, it's like go win some bike races, and if one of our sponsors needs you at a dinner, you go to dinner. like that's your job. And you're like, okay, cool. But yeah, with the privateer stuff, it's sort of, I mean, it's like any sort of, small business. You could work as long as you want. You could work as hard as you want. You could build, the brand as big as as you need to. But
there's a million directions you could go. You could be a podcaster, an Instagram, you could say a
directions.
YouTube channel. It's like, whoa, what am I going to do with this?
So yeah, I think it comes down to like, one, potentially being okay with not like knocking it out of the park every single day, and like, oh yeah, you don't need to be like have the most subscribers on YouTube, or you don't need to be like winning every race, but a lot of it just comes down to like setting up goals for yourself, I think, coming into it. I say this as somebody who is not currently doing it.
Yeah, and
I'm totally armchair.
behind the scenes from the podcast, I have a coaching company that I set up when I was out in France as an amateur, trying to make it in cycling, getting paid like €50 a week in a shitty little house riding for Apogee Super U. And I was like, okay, I'll have a Wi-Fi connection. How do I make some cash? And I started coaching. There was like very few online coaching companies around then. There was the big ones like Carmichael, but very few. And that's been going like 10 years now, which is wild to think. And it kind of runs in the background. But for a long time with social media, I thought I need to be everywhere. I need a YouTube channel. I need an Instagram. I need Twitter. I need to be putting up this many posts on Facebook a day. And it's fucking exhausting. And the biggest breakthrough I ever had with any of this was when I said, I don't care about any of the social platforms anymore. I'll throw some stuff up, the odd time, but I'm just going to go all in on one. And I went all in on podcasting. And at the start, it was like, my mom and a couple of her friends listening. And now it's wild to me that I can log in and I'm like, my God, there's hundreds of thousands of people tuning into this every week. But if I had to spread myself across all the platforms, I just wouldn't have had penetration on any of them. So for what it's worth, that's worked for me, going all in on just one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, define the goals, and you like I say, you want to knock it out of the park on all of them, but that's, fully unrealistic as a single human being.
Yeah. Well, it's
so I'm not
going to
be
a sprinter, a climber, a TT guy. It's like,
exactly.
Just with experience, it's an impossible task.
Unless you're Wout, but yeah.
Unless you're Wout, yeah.
Can't all be Wout.
When did the love affair start with gravel?
I've actually ridden gravel forever. Before they had gravel bikes, kind of thing. And where I live, it's all the best roads are dirt. So it was pretty natural thing. Was kind of bugging the team early on to do stuff like Unbound, and it just wasn't really a good fit. And then when Rafa came on and they were like, oh, we want to do this EF Gone Racing stuff. We're going to need a couple athletes from EF, and they're sort of poking around, and I kind of kicked the door down. I was like, hey guys, hey, right here, I'll be there. So
I think for me that seems like the mainstream explosion in gravel was around the EF Gone Racing. I remember one of the first videos I watched on, I think it was you and Lachlan at Unbound. I was just like, this looks like so much fun. Like, it looks very different to, it's cool to watch the classics and stuff, but you don't really get an idea of the personality, the story. And there's one cool scene I remember in one of them where it's like, Lachlan said, Alex came up to me and he's like, hey bro, I'm coming apart pretty bad here. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm coming apart hours ago. Keep it to yourself. I don't care. We never get to see that on the road. And I was like, at that moment, I was like, whoa, this genre, for want of a better word, has really widespread appeal.
Yeah, it's interesting because I and I think a lot of people like to watch professional road racing. It's done really well. I mean, there's few things cooler to watch than a big mountain stage at the Tour, and I don't know if gravel, in terms of sitting down and watching it on the TV, start to finish, 10 hours at Unbound, I don't know if that's
I don't know,
really got much appeal. But the cool thing is basically anybody can go do these races. And they're hard races, and when you put it all together well, it's a message that really resonates with people, and mostly because it's just a simple kind of bare knuckles form of racing. So it works out well here in America. I don't know. It's interesting to see what's going on with it over in Europe. It's getting some traction there, but I don't know. The stronghold seems to be here in the States, so we'll see how that all develops.
You know what's just so funny in life? Like, I love stand-up comedy and I'll watch it, but there's rarely anything funnier than just watching your mate or your training partner totally coming apart. Like, the wheels just totally going off. I rode over in Badlands a couple of months ago, and then after, my buddy who's finished riding with a Continental Team Evo Pro last year, he just, hit his head off the ceiling and was like, oh, I'm done with this, and kind of quit cycling. And I got him back into it, and we went over riding Badlands, and afterwards we were sitting in Granada and we had friends in Biarritz, and he's like, why don't we just send it tomorrow up to Biarritz? He's like, we'll ride 250k a day, it'll be good fun. And we got to Biarritz and then rode across to Girona, so we ended up riding like 2,000 kilometers in like 9 days or something. And
Ouch.
There was days when like one of us would just totally come apart, like just the wheels come off, and there's just nothing funnier. And gravel gives us that ability to see that, like to watch you just totally coming apart. I'm like, I would never have the fitness to make Alex Howes just totally come apart, but now I get to watch this and kind of vicariously enjoy that satisfaction.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like, yeah, with professional road racing, there's always a car behind you, like there's a bit of a limiter into how bad of trouble you can get into. Definitely with gravel, like when you have to pack your own water and do the math on that, and then the sun beats down a little harder that day, and you drop a couple snacks, because the road got bumpy, the wheels can come off, all the way off. Yeah. like this year at Belgian Waffle Ride San Diego, I'm like, I didn't have water for like over an hour, and it was super hot. And I went off the front, and I was up there with Alexi, and things were going great. And then just slammed into the wall basically, and yeah, I mean, I got to the finish, and I like found myself like writhing around in the merchandise tent, like people trying to like buy shirts next to me, and I'm just like, just like cough crying on the ground, like looking like an amateur, whatever.
Everyone talks about the spirit of gravel, and a totally nebulous concept. None of us know what it means, but definitely one of the things I think it means, it's like that ability to endure and overcome. Like, we were on that bike packing trip, and like we were in a hotel in Zaragoza, and for whatever reason we were leaving the hotel buffet in the morning, and we were doing the typical Swan-Ur thing, like raiding the hotel for as much food as we could. And we were going out the door, and the hotel manager's like, you can't take any of that food or water with you. You have to eat it here. And we were like, oh, shit. So we put it all back, and we rolled out of town with no food and no water. And we had breakfast, so it wasn't so bad. But we turned basically straight onto these gravel trails. Now it's fast forward a couple of hours. It's like coming on like 42, 43 degrees. We're like 90 minutes, 2 hours with no water. And we're both looking at each other going, like, we're in a bad spot here. This is just getting warmer, and we're going deeper into this desert. But it's just totally unspoken. You just both look at each other and both go, yeah, we're pretty fucked here, but let's just not say anything about it and keep going forward.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was funny talking to Lachlan about Badlands. He did a couple of years ago, and he was like saying he was standing there on the start line with a few guys, and they were all, talking about bikes, and, oh, this bike's good for this, and that bike's heavy, and blah blah blah. And Lachlan's like, this doesn't matter, like none of this matters, guys. He's thinking this in his head, and he's like looking at these $15,000 like super bikes, and he's like, the only thing that matters is the fact that I got like 15 liters of water on my bike right now. Like, you guys are gonna die out there. Like, no, like, I don't care how much your spoke weighs, like, you're going to want the 15 liters of water.
I seen Taylor Finney at the start this year, and he was like wearing a pair of sandals, and I think he had one bottle with him or something. I was like, he's going to be eating them sandals after like 200 kilometers.
He was in it for the Vision Quest, though, for sure. He was.
Yeah, it was a deep mushroom trip, I think, got parts of that for him.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need mushrooms if you don't have water, You just get thirsty enough.